That sun, which erst with love my bosom warmed, had a fair truth unveiled the sweet aspect, by proof of right, and of the false reproof, and I, to own myself convinced and free of doubt, as much as needed, raised my head erect for speech. But soon a sight appeared, which, so intent to mark it, held me fixed, that of confession I no longer thought. As through translucent and smooth glass, or wave clear and unmoved, and flowing not so deep as that its bed is dark, the shape returns so faint of our impictured lineaments, that on white forehead set a pearl as strong comes to the eye, such saw I many a face, all stretched to speak, from whence I straight conceived delusion opposite to that, which rises between the man and fountain, amorous flame. Sudden, as I perceived them, deeming these reflected semblances to see of whom they were, I turned mine eyes, and nothing saw, then turned them back, directed on the light of my sweet guide, who smiling shot forth beams from her celestial eyes. Wonder not thou, she cried, at this my smiling, when I see thy childish judgment, since not yet on truth it rests the foot, but, as it still is wont, makes thee fall back in unsound vacancy. True substances are these, which thou beholdst, hither through failure of their vow exiled. But speak thou with them, listen, and believe, that the true light, which fills them with desire, permits not from its beams their feet to stray. Straight to the shadow which for converse seemed most earnest, I addressed me, and began, as one by over-eagerness perplexed, O spirit, born for joy! Who in the rays of life eternal, of that sweetness knows the flavor, which, not tasted, passes far all apprehension, me it well would please, if thou wouldst tell me of thy name, and this your station here. Whence she, with kindness prompt, and eyes glistening with smiles, our charity, to any wish by justice introduct, bars not the door, no more than she above, who would of all her court be like herself. I was a virgin sister in the earth, and if thy mind observe me well, this form, with such addition gracked of loveliness, will not conceal me long, but thou wilt know Picarda, in the tardiest sphere thus placked, here mid these other blessed also blessed. Our hearts, whose high affections burn alone with pleasure, from the Holy Spirit conceived, admitted to his order dwell in joy. And this condition, which appears so low, is for this cause assigned us, that our vows were in some part neglected and made void. Whence I to her replied, something divine beams in your countenance, wanderous fair, from former knowledge quite transmuting you. Therefore to recollect was I so slow. But what thou sayest hath to my memory given now such aid, that to retrace your forms is easier. Yet inform me, ye, who here are happy, long ye for a higher place more to behold, and more in love to dwell? She with those other spirits gently smiled, then answered with such gladness, that she seemed with love's first flame to glow, Brother, our will is in composure settled by the power of charity, who makes us will alone what we possess, and not beyond desire. If we should wish to be exalted more, then must our wishes jar with the high will of him, who sets us here, which in these orbs thou wilt confess not possible, if here to be in charity must needs befall, and if her nature well thou contemplate. Rather it is inherent in this state of blessedness, to keep ourselves within the divine will, by which our wills with his are one. So that as we from step to step are plagued throughout this kingdom, pleases all, e'en as our King, who in us plants his will, and in his will is our tranquility, it is the mighty ocean, whither tends whatever it creates and nature makes. Then saw I clearly how each spot in heaven is paradise, though with like gracious do the supreme virtues show are not over all. But as it chances, if one sort of food hath satiated, and of another still the appetite remains, that this is asked, and thanks for that returned, e'en so did I in word and motion, bent from her to learn what web it was, through which she had not drawn the shuttle to its point. She thus began, exalted worth and perfectness of life the lady higher up enshrined in heaven, by whose pure laws upon your nether earth the robe and veil they wear, to that intent, that e'en till death they may keep watch or sleep with their great bridegroom, who accepts each vow, which to his gracious pleasure love conforms. From the world, to follow her, when young escaped, and, in her vesture mantling me, made promise of the way her sect enjoins. Thereafter men, for ill than good more apt, forth snatched me from the pleasant cloisters pale. God knows how after that my life was frammed. This other splendid shape, which thou beholdst at my right side, burning with all the light of this our orb, what of myself I tell may to herself apply. From her, like me a sister, with like violence were torn the saintly folds, that shaded her fair brows. E'en when she to the world again was brought in spite of her own will and better wont, yet not for that the bosom's inward veil did she renounce. This is the luminary of mighty Constance, who from that loud blast, which blew the second over Swabia's realm, that power product, which was the third and last. She ceased from further talk, and then began Ave Maria singing, and with that song vanished, as heavy substance through deep wave. Mine eye, that far as it was capable, pursued her, when in dimness she was lost, turned to the mark where greater one impelled, and bent on Beatrice all its gaze. But she as lightning beamed upon my looks, so that the sight sustained it not at first. Whence I to question her became less prompt.